Last October, some of us got together and started a community here in northern Arkansas. It's been going pretty well. We bought 150 acres, and so far, land has been cleared, a well has been drilled, cabins have been built, and there's still a lot of work to do, but so far, so good. We had a big event that was successful in early April when there was a solar eclipse in this region. I met a lot of really cool people, people who were into tech. We have a lot of like programmers and really kind of high status profession people who are interested and who have bought in. We're actually planning on starting a tech company through this or associated with it, as well as a construction company. So there's actually paid work for people who join into this community. It's grown a lot. The PMA, the Return to the Land Private Members Association has grown quite a bit. And the actual LLC that owns this land, there are quite a few people who now formally are owners of this. And several have actually moved down onto the land. In fact, like later this week, another guy is coming out. There are families here, and yeah, paid work here. So the whole thing is working out really well. If you compare it to other intentional communities, we are growing extremely quickly. Typically, communities will be founded by a couple families, and they'll hover around a dozen members for years. And occasionally someone new will come in, but they'll also lose people. We have soared past those numbers immediately because there's a clear motive to build communities like ours. The Return to the Land PMA is for people of European heritage. We value our heritage. At a certain point in time, the US was an explicitly white country, and our immigration system and citizenship laws reflected that. But that's rapidly changing, and not through a democratic mandate. Instead, special interest groups, lobbyists, moneyed interests have changed our immigration system and citizenship laws against the will of the people. Ordinary white Americans never asked for this, and yet it's happening. If I go back to my hometown in Southern California, it is unrecognizable. And I was already a minority there while I was growing up. And I know what it's like to be mocked by a bunch of Mexicans for being blonde. And I didn't particularly like it. I don't want my kids to experience that. It is okay to associate with people that you want to. We have freedom of association that's guaranteed by our Constitution. And morally, it is okay to care about your identity. Everyone else does. Every other identity group cares about who they are and where they come from. And if you don't care about your own people, no one else is going to do it for you. And other people, other groups often have animosity towards whites because of perceived historical injustices. We, in our circles, know that that's bullshit. And actually, we've been a force for good in this world. We've invented labor-saving devices. We have established legal standards that actually afford rights like freedom of association, and those rights are afforded to people of all backgrounds. We are not very discriminatory as a society. That's why hordes of non-whites want to move to white countries, because we have it pretty good because we built good societies. And we want to continue doing that. And so that's why we're doing this here. We are not running away from the mainstream society. Instead, we are consolidating our wealth, growing our wealth and power and contacts, living in a healthier way. And actually, in doing this, we can influence politics in ways that otherwise we couldn't. The town we moved into has like 500 people. Eventually, very likely, we will outnumber them. And so if we want our guy to be mayor or sheriff or our representative for this area, we can just vote them in. And we'll make contacts, and we have made contacts with others in the local area. So real power can be grown in this way. Also, activism, all that stuff online can be done more effectively. We're going to build a media house and work together on media projects that promote our messages. A bunch of individuals working on their own really don't have the same resources. We are building our resources, we are building our competency, we are holding each other accountable, and it's not just running away. People tend to have an either-or mentality a lot of the time when it's unnecessary. It's not like you can only go after national politics or you're running away. It's like, no, we can build these communities and that can help us grow our political power. And if you're not doing this, then when you buy a home, all of that money is just going into the wider economy. It's going to people who are not aligned with you. You're letting all of that wealth kind of just seep into the wider system. You're feeding back into the mainstream system that directly opposes you. The way we're doing it, we're paying each other. That money is staying in the community. It's subsidizing the development of these communities. It's increasing all of our property values. It's increasing all of our wealth. We have the possibility of homeschool networks. Our schools are crap. Public schools are crap. We can do it better and cheaper. Child rearing will be less onerous, less expensive, because people watch each other's kids. Kids play together. We're in a safe rural environment. If you care about your kids, if you care about even your own education, you should come out here because you can learn real skills. And also, I'm starting a kind of institution of higher education, non-accredited, but for philosophy and other things. We're building a website for that, Peer Academy. That's not completed yet, but we are working on it. And I'm starting my philosophy school here. Conveniently, I am kind of an expert in classical philosophy. I don't just say that. John Vervaeke, the director of cognitive science, who's trained in philosophy as well at the University of Toronto, which is like a world leading institution in a lot of things, at a certain point in time wanted me to teach the Plato courses for his education system that he does online. And then he found out that I was, racist or whatever and rescinded that. But it is recognized that I am kind of an expert in this stuff, and it is the basis of our whole civilization, so I can teach it. So if you want to learn that kind of stuff, you can come out. We have a lot going on. A lot is really working in our favor. So yeah, we're having an event July 4th through the 7th. So if you are curious about what's going on here, you can come down and talk to us. And I encourage you to do so. Camping will be, you'll be roughing it, but I think a little of that is actually good for you. It will be hot, so be prepared for that. If you're cool, I'll let you hang out in my RV in the AC. There are a couple cabins with AC currently. But yeah, we're constantly building new stuff. If you like it here, you could just stay, continue to camp, and get paid to do good work here with like-minded people. So yeah, consider coming down the 4th through the 7th. It won't be as formal as our April event that we had for the eclipse, which was awesome itself. But this will just be hanging out, we'll barbecue, we'll do some fireworks, it'll be fun. And yeah, we'll also have an event in October. I'll release more information about that soon. But mainly, I just wanted to let you know we are hosting people. It's a little bit short notice now, but you're invited, you're welcome to come down. You will have to join the PMA first, and we'll hurry up and get you processed. So if you're watching this and you may want to join, go ahead and sign up for the PMA. There's no real cost. Well, there's a $10 application fee, but no real cost associated. It won't commit you to an ongoing fee or anything like that. And that's the first step. If you did want to buy into this community or any future community that we start, this place is pretty much full as far as owners are concerned, and we're going to be moving on to the next purchase before too long here. That being said, there's still a lot of stuff to be done physically here. So we want to prioritize the first community and making it livable for our guys here. But yeah, everything's going pretty well. The way we've structured this, we can all benefit from reinvesting our resources in our guys. That improves our land values here. We can train each other in relevant skills. We're also, of course, I think it's worth mentioning, secure in the event of a collapse in the way that most other people are not. We have like a small army here that could defend themselves, you know? And that's really what you want in a conflict situation. A bunker is only going to get you so far. You know, stockpiles of food and weapons are only going to get you so far. You really need allies. You need guys who have your back. We have that. We're living that way. So I think that's a real benefit. But also, we have a shot at influencing local politics before too long, really. We can grow our economic resources. We can start businesses. Really, like high speed, high agency, high intelligence people have gotten involved. And there aren't other projects like this. In South Africa, Orania's property values have gone way up because people don't feel safe in the cities. And a bunch of white South Africans want to move to Orania. So even though where they are is not the nicest place in South Africa, they went from cheap land to really expensive land in the course of a couple decades. That can happen here. So if you just want investing opportunities, join our PMA, look into what we're doing, read our legal documents. Lawyers have looked at them. This is a real option. And yeah, we have the right to do this. There are clear benefits. It can grow political power. It can grow financial power. You don't really have to pick one or the other. Some people advocate a kind of political strategy where we go into elite institutions. It's like the crawl through the institutions that the Democrats went for over the course of the 20th century. For one, I don't think we have time to do that. For the second part, you know, they know who you are. You're not fooling anyone. They know your internet search history. They know who you are. There's no hiding from the establishment, right? They're literally watching you 24/7. And if you're in these circles, they are really watching you all the time. So you're not going to sneak in under their radar and then like suddenly take power because you're in all the bureaucratic positions. We don't have the numbers. We have a lot of great, talented people, but it's just not enough. And also, you can't just tell people to do that and assume they're going to make it, because elite institutions are biased against white males. They're not hiring white males in a lot of professions, so you're already at a disadvantage. You have affirmative action law working against you, and just active ideological discrimination against people with your worldview, and they can find you out. You're not that sneaky. Maybe you in particular are, and you use like several VPNs and whatever other, techniques, and you're very consistent in that. But most people in these circles aren't like that. So yeah, you're not going to kind of sneak in and then take over the system suddenly one day. It's just not realistic. And if you wanted to try that, you should have some kind of training system where people actually become more competent so that they can enter those elite institutions successfully. Just banking on, oh, well, we have the smartest guys. Like, okay, hubris is a cause of a lot of miscalculations, and just assuming that your guys are all the smartest around, I think is naive. There are a lot of smart Jews who disagree with what you're doing. There are a lot of smart Asians who really disagree with what you're doing. And they're working hard and have been working hard because Jewish and Asian parents have driven them from the time they were children to enter into high status professions. So you're competing against people who also want those jobs, So if you want to get an edge, you need environments where you can build people up. That's what these communities are for, is building us up financially, in terms of our skills, and that eventually will get to higher end careers. Like, we can prep people to enter into law school so that they will be successful. People waste a lot of money in university because they're just not generally knowledgeable. They have to take all these gen ed courses, and they're not really prepared for their particular course material for their major. You could learn all that stuff before you go and guarantee your success. You could be way ahead of your peers. You could be prepared for grad school. You don't have to go to college immediately. We can have our own training institutions. That's what my school is for. It's to give us an edge. And that's being left out by a lot of the people who talk about, we're going to enter into elite institutions, we need to have white excellence, whatever. That's true, but okay, give me a recipe for how. That we should, sure, as far as possible. You shouldn't bank on it. And also in general, like in these circles, people need to think in kind of Bayesian terms. They need to look at probabilities and multiple options and not just assume everything is going to go one way. You need to have a bunch of irons in the fire. That's what the elites do. That's what successful people do. You need to hedge bets. And so, like, these communities are not mutually exclusive with those strategies. Instead, these communities can amplify those other strategies. There is no real downside. And actually, we don't have to do this only in rural areas. It helps financially and in terms of regulation to do it in rural areas. But we can actually form LLCs like this under our PMA or similar PMAs, and we can buy apartment buildings in cities and offer cheaper housing and actual ownership rather than rent for people in major cities. And that's just a clear benefit, where they're living with people who agree with them. They can start media projects collaboratively in their own living space. The possibilities here are pretty much endless. Like, we haven't explored these possibilities because it means directly cooperating with others. And most of us like want to do it our own way. Like, a lot of people who are basically exactly, in line with my thinking on what we ought to do, a lot of them think, oh yeah, I like this, but can it be in Maine? Or can it be in West Virginia or some other particular place? None of the people involved here are from the Ozarks. We came here because we actually did the legal research and we found out that this is the best place to do it. It's the cheapest place and the laws allow for it. In a lot of places, they don't. And you have to get deep into the legal research. You have to look up the septic system laws. You have to look up the laws regarding homeschooling. You have to actually do your due diligence and not just assume, oh, well, I like Montana and therefore we should do it in Montana. We should do it everywhere eventually. But to make this succeed, we don't have unlimited numbers. We don't have unlimited resources. To make it succeed, we should concentrate in an area that is the easiest to do it, grow, gain expertise, and then once we have the organization and resources, then we can try it in more difficult locations. So it's not like you have to move to the Ozarks and stay here forever. We should have chapters of this kind of organization in New York City, in San Francisco, eventually. It's going to take a while to get there. It makes sense to do it where cost of living is low. We can raise our property values. We can start from very low price per acre and raise that to a very high price per acre because we're all collectively developing this land. A lot of time and resources are going into it. And it's something that an individual just can't compete with. Like 0.01%, 0.001% of the population perhaps would be able to do what we collectively have done here in terms of the labor hours, money put into this property. Like, we've increased the property value enormously already with just a handful of us actively working and others investing. The opportunities are there. You can have paid work immediately. There are tech guys that you can work with if you're in tech. There's manufacturing businesses to start. One guy who's an awesome guy, I guess still is or was a business owner in manufacturing. He wants to get started. He already knows how to do it. He will hire our guys. You know, you have to keep those sorts of businesses small for legal reasons, or else they can get you for discrimination and things like that. We have the legal research. We have the people with the expertise, agency intelligence. We have consolidated these resources here. It's already going. Instead of insisting, oh, but it has to be here or there, or we have to do it this way, all of us will benefit if we put our minds and resources together, at least at first, and then we can expand. If you're interested, come down for the July event, or we're going to have an event in October. So you could come to the October event, or just any time in between. Join the PMA, talk to me. I've always been open to talking to others. I've actually been pushing this exact thing, not in every detail, but this general idea, for the last 10 years online. I've been around more than most, or longer than most of you here. Like before Nick Fuentes showed up, before Keith Woods showed up, I was there. I've been here from the beginning, pretty much. That's an exaggeration, but I've been in these circles for a long time. I know what's been on offer, and it's mostly been disorganized, sloppy thinking, wishful thinking, magical thinking, not intelligence, prudence, and organizational acumen. And we're starting to get there. Other movements are starting to get there, but what we're doing specifically is organized intelligently. There are very high IQ people involved, high agency people involved. That's the edge that we have. And we have a clear motivation for why we should be building these communities. Like, there are clear, tangible financial benefits just for doing this in general versus working on your own. But people work on their own because they're low agency and low IQ, and they couldn't pull something like this off. We can. We're already organized. And if you're in line with us ideologically, well, you can benefit from that organizational skill. So there's a lot going on here. It is going very well. Just some updates. I'm not going to actually walk around the whole property and show you everything, but we have that well, so you can fill water tanks. We have power on my lot and on Scott's lot. And the power company will hook up others if certain things are built. So slowly, the power lines will kind of hop into the property. More wells will be drilled. I could show you the cabins and everything, but that's probably better for another video. I just wanted to make the case that we're not running away. This is actually a path to power. It's not just a retreat from the mainstream. You shouldn't put your resources and hopes in the mainstream system. You should want to conquer it, but you don't have to go into, the belly of the beast to do that. You can actually raise kids in a wholesome environment and have your friends around you and win, because the system, it has momentum going with it, but it's not that agile, and the world is changing quickly, and we can succeed in ways that the mainstream system can't. We can adapt in terms of media. We can adapt in terms of how we're structuring our businesses and how we use AI especially. AI is not like a magic cure-all, but it does allow for new things, especially new media production, and I've talked about that. The media house is going to be a big project. There will be more paid work in the future. There's really no excuse to bemoan our collective situation when this is going on. Other stuff is going on, but especially this. It offers a real path to power, and it's compatible with other groups. America First. I went to Detroit this past weekend and met a lot of really great guys, and they could benefit from what we're doing here. Some of them from joining it or from emulating it, because they are individually, again, paying resources into the broader system. All of that wealth is just being siphoned away, being lost to people who disagree with us. It doesn't have to be. We can meet our own needs. We don't just have to focus on elite careers. We need carpenters, we need stonemasons, we need plumbers, we need all of it so that we keep that wealth together. It's what other ethnicities have done to build up their power in our country. And we can do it better than them because we built the society in the first place, and we're gonna build better societies. There are real possibilities. We don't just have to complain and hope for a new Caesar to change things. What we're doing can actually facilitate that, believe it or not. It's not immediately clear how, but that's because people are not typically good at like thinking of bold new possibilities. They have status quo biases. They think about things that already exist, and what we're doing, how we're doing it, hasn't existed yet. You do have to kind of go out in your mind and explore the possibilities to really get it, but hopefully some of what I've said here makes it clear how this is not a retreat. It is a way of building our power, building our expertise, building our alliances. It's not restricted to rural areas. We're just starting here. It's not restricted to the Ozarks. We're just starting here, and it's gonna grow. It is growing. It's growing way faster than other intentional communities do. If Orania is a good indicator of how things could go, property values will go way up, so it's a good investment opportunity. It's a good way to build our wealth collectively. The whole world wants to move to white countries, and that's real demand. That's one of the reasons, in a way, that we're prosperous. We build societies that people want to live in. But as our broader societies are corrupted and people don't want to live in them anymore, we can offer those havens, and we should offer them. One last point. People talk about taking over society kind of from the top down. We need a dictator to just change everything on a dime. But to force a new way of life on people, because we have moral problems, we have sociological problems. It's not just a political or financial problem that we're dealing with. It goes to the heart of our culture and civilization. And we have to find new ways, better ways of living, better moral systems. And you actually have to have experience with that. Just pure abstraction can't do it. And even on the abstraction side, it's a donkey. Jeez. All right. Even on the abstraction side, a philosophical school is necessary for real change. Individual thinkers are not enough. And to have a successful philosophical school, you actually need a school where that happens. You need a structure of discourse. You need a way where you publish your materials. Websites are not enough. Publishing houses on their own are not enough. You need real living discourses and real living institutions, just to have the abstraction side of it. But to actually have a model for how we ought to be collectively, we have to test it out, because there's lived, engaged, physical aspects of morality and just social life in general that you can't really get from dry abstract philosophy alone. You have to live it yourself. You have to know what it's like. And right now, none of us know what that better way is like, because we haven't personally experimented with it. We haven't tried it out. So, okay, say we get the dictator. Nick Fuentes becomes dictator, and he's going to tell us all how we should live from now on. He himself doesn't know. He's lived in the modern world, in modern degeneracy, like the rest of us. Okay, he hasn't, had alcohol, and he's incel or whatever, and that's, I guess, better than most people. But still, he's lived just like us. We don't know what that alternative lifestyle is that we should be striving after, because it's dead. The old traditional moral systems that made us great are dead. And this isn't the only time in history where we should consolidate into intentional communities to find that again. That's what the Pythagoreans did. Actually, that's what the Christians did. They built their own communities to find a new way instead of the degeneracy of Rome, and those communities spread to conquer the empire and then conquer the world through Christendom. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's the first step that needs to be done. It needs to start with something living, not the dead letter, but the living spirit. And that happens between us. So you need places where that can abide. And that's why community. So you should check it out. You should consider it. You're welcome to visit if you join the PMA. You're welcome to visit for the 4th of July event. It'll be fun. We'll have, I guess, like bratwurst. We'll try not to do the, hot dogs with all the mystery meat kind of situations. We'll have good food. We'll have, that was one thing about our April event is we had some, quote unquote, goislop there. And I wasn't in charge of that. It was just like, we weren't organized enough in every respect. We tried to organize more, but we're kind of getting the hang of this. So it's going to be good food. There's going to be fireworks. You'll meet a lot of great people. Consider it. And if you can't make that, consider the October event or any time in between. We're always down here. So you can get in contact with me by signing up for the PMA on the website. I'm the one who will interview you. So yeah, that was my update on what's going on and just some arguments for what we're doing, because somehow I still meet people online who will say stuff like, oh, you have to be in a city to affect political change. And it's like, we have the internet and you're wasting money in cities. Come on, man. Really think about it. So you think about it, please get in contact with me. God bless. Thank you for listening.